What is happening? It is Wednesday and it's time for another You Rock We Drone episode. Today I'm pumped because we're gonna talk about ND filters. Not what ND filters are or what they do or where to buy one or which one to buy or the science behind it. No, there's already plenty of videos about that stuff on the internet. I've linked few of my favorite ones down below. So what we're gonna do is compare ND filters, and we're gonna take not one, not two, but 3 different types of ND filters for the same filming situation so that we can compare the footage afterwards and take a look what produces the best outcome for a certain scene, for a certain filming location. And hopefully by the end of this video you'll be able to more effectively choose your ND filter when you get to a beautiful filming location. So let's go and do this thing. So good. So good. Actually, this is not very good at all. This is instant coffee. I don't have real coffee at home, so... Now, you know what? Instant coffee is better than no coffee. Is it? Is it really, though? So the way we're gonna structure this is to first look at the raw footage and see what the final outcome is of each of the clips shot with a different ND filter. Then we're gonna take it into DaVinci Resolve and take a quick look what the difference is on the waveforms and what that means for us in terms of color grading. And then we're gonna go through the clips real quick, do some very basic color grade, nothing fancy, no cinematic look, just make the clips look better. And lastly, we're gonna take the final color graded clips, compare them once again, and take a look which clip we like the best or which clip looks the best, and hopefully that will teach us what ND filter to use for a certain type of filming location, for a certain type of light, for a certain type of filming situation. Really. So let's go ahead and do this thing. So let's start comparing our raw footage. This is how it came out of the DJI Mavic Air. I'm just shooting in a D-Cinelike flat profile. And the first clip here is shot with an ND32. You can see that it's pretty nicely exposed. Now let's add the ND16 clip to this as a comparison so we can see what the ND16 and the ND32 look like side by side. And now for comparison, let's just add in our ND8 clip. And here we can see that ND8 is very bright, pretty overexposed. I can see more detail on the trees. The leaves are greener, but this is the sky is basically unusable. Like, I can't make out any clouds anymore. So I think to see this side by side is very interesting, and it gives you immediately the impression that ND32 was probably the best pick here. Everything in the scene is just nicely exposed. I can still make out the trees, I can still make out the water, the clouds are clearly visible and not too overexposed, even though we're flying right against the sun. For this type of filming situation, an ND32 is probably the right pick. Bear in mind here, we're flying right against the sun. So if I were to turn around and try to film the other side of this frozen lake and I wouldn't face the sun directly, maybe the ND32 would be a little bit too dark and you may want to pick something like the ND16. But I think we'll be able to tell a little bit better once we get into the grading process. For now, let's take a look at a second clip that is also shot against the sun, but in this case we're descending behind the trees so that the sun is shining through the trees for a nice cinematic kind of look. You get the idea. That's what we're here for. So here's the clip that I was talking about. Descending behind the trees with the sun shining through it, casting some nice shadows from the tree. And this is on the ND32. If we compare this to the ND16, doing the same kind of situation, descending behind the trees, you can see there's a little bit more color that I can make out. And if we switch this over, or if we add our ND8 clip to this, then we have this kind of situation going on where once again we know that the sun is overexposed, but I'm getting some nice sun rays here, and I can see clearly the color of the floor much better. It's not as black as it was in the other clip. So depending on the situation, you want to choose an ND filter. If you want to shoot something in that forest, pick a lighter one so that you can still make out what's in there and you're gonna accept the fact that your sky is overexposed. If you want to get a cinematic silhouette shot of the trees, pick a 32. Or if you want a little bit of both and see if you can have the best of both worlds, let's try with an ND16. So let's take a look what we can do in DaVinci Resolve in the color grading process and see which footage or which clip we like the best. Alright, we're here in DaVinci Resolve, and just to follow along a little bit easier, I have colored the clips. So ND32 is green, ND16 is orange, and ND8 is purple. So I'm just gonna jump over to the color grading page and take a quick look here at my scopes. So this is our ND32. You can see that the blacks here are pretty high up, so there's already a pretty big gap, and there is not much of our white clipping at the top. So if I just looked at the waveform, this is decently exposed, I would say. If I move over to the ND16, you can see that our black's coming down a little bit, and I can see at the white lines here that a lot of the white and even some of the blues are getting clipped already. And then moving over to ND8, you can see a huge difference here. So basically my entire sky, this left side of the image here, is being completely clipped. I have almost no blacks in the footage at all, or in this clip at all. And you can see here, I can still make out a little bit of the blue. And then you can see here, I can see some of that blue, but even that is technically at the very top or even getting clipped already. Okay, let's take a look at our second clip where we're just descending behind the trees and the sun is shining through. ND32 looks pretty good. The blacks are coming down, but nothing is getting clipped as far as I can see here. It's getting pretty close, so this is probably the darkest part of the whole footage. And then let's compare this to ND16, where we are descending as well, looking pretty good. Nothing gets clipped, but I still have some highlights here that are getting clipped. Even though the overall image seems quite dark, you know, you can see here on the right side of the image that there is a little bit of clipping happening, and then the blacks are pretty much at the bottom. Compare this to our ND8, where once again the entire sky is basically unusable because it's all getting clipped here. As we descend through the trees, we're getting some nice effects with the sun rays, and I can make out the hikers here, and then my blacks are slowly coming down, but not all the way to the end, because it's overexposed. Flying against the sun in this kind of situation, ND8 is not the way to go. Okay, that was interesting looking at the waveforms and to see what the digital output of each of these clips is. At this point I can already tell that ND8 probably wasn't a good choice at all, just because the sky is completely overexposed, and we're gonna get into color grading now and see if we can bring some of that back. But I doubt we can bring back any of the clouds or any of the details in the sky. And as I said earlier, it really depends on what you're going for, but I think this is so dramatically overexposed that I think it's unusable for any type of project. So let's do some grading, see what we can bring back, see what we can make the final footage look like, and then we can decide what's best for this kind of filming situation. Alright, so I'm just gonna go through this real quick and create a simple grade for all of these. So I'm gonna do my contrast and saturation, and then here I have my high, mids, and lows, and here we're gonna do some color, and just so that it's a little bit fair to compare, we're gonna give them all the same contrast and saturation. So let's just take this first clip here and make sure that it looks good. We're gonna crank up the saturation to maybe 68 and our contrast 1.14. Okay, it does look good. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna head over to all the clips and just hit the equal sign on my keyboard. So now they all have the same contrast and saturation, but the rest will vary depending on the clip. So let's start with our highs, mids, and lows. So for this clip, I'm gonna bring down the shadows just a little bit. And I will also have to bring the gain down. Maybe I keep it like this. Heading over to the next clip. You probably want to do the same thing since this is also an ND32. And here I want to crank up my midtones a little bit because it was quite dark. Okay, let's head over here. So in this one, I probably want to do the same. The only difference may be that I want to increase my midtones here a little bit because it was quite dark, so I can see the trees a little bit better. Let's quickly move on to ND16. So here, similar story, want to bring down my blacks a little bit. Actually, that looks quite nice. Let's make sure that we're not clipping. This is quite dark, so maybe we gotta leave it like that. Let's bring it one down. And we definitely want to bring down our highlights here, maybe like that, and increase this a little bit so you can see a little bit more of the trees. And then let's head over to this clip, find a nice spot, same story, make sure we're not clipping anywhere, looking pretty good. And then let's head over to our overexposed clip, and I don't even know what we're gonna do, but let's just grab, oh boy, let's just grab this example here, and what are we gonna do? We're gonna bring down our highlights, gonna bring some shadows back in, and we're gonna try to make sure we're not clipping. Okay, so we're gonna bring it down one, and then probably want to bring this down a little bit so that it's not so overexposed. And exactly as we thought, we can't bring back any of the details in the clouds. The clouds are just gone. So there is really not much more we can do to this. Let's head over to the other one of our ND8 examples here and hit equal to apply that same grade. Before, after, that looks already quite a lot better. And then let's see what we can do here. Maybe this doesn't have to come down as much. The sky is gone either way. Make sure we're not clipping at the blacks. Whoop, we are. So let's bring this up again a little bit. Okay. And then what would look good if we undid this? Oh, that's quite bright. Let's bring this down a little bit. All right. So let's jump back to our first clip, get one of these nice examples here, head over to our color tab and see what we can do. Let's try to achieve white balance by clicking something in here that's meant to be white, I suppose. Let's change our temperature and our tint a little bit. We're gonna give this a little bit of a color boost. What I can think to do here is maybe make the sky a little bit more red. So I would just head over to my bars and maybe increase the reds just a little bit, like that. Maybe bring it up in the midtones, but that will change it too much in the trees. I don't like that. Let's bring that back. So if we compare this already, that looks quite nice. So let's just leave it like this and give the whole scene a little bit of a color boost. So if we compare this, that looks nice. You get some orange here on the lake. I like that. And if we turn everything off, this is how it came out of the DJI Mavic Air. This is what it looks like now. That's nice. What I like to do is to just bring down my highlights just a little bit. And then in this case, since we're flying against the sun, maybe bring this down like this a little bit here and bring the black ups a little bit like that. And if we compare this before and after, it has like a smoother tone to it. So this is how it came out of the DJI Mavic Air, and this is what it looks like now. It's not great, but it is a lot better than how it came out. I've got some nice colors here. It's beautiful. I'm just gonna head over. I'm gonna make this. We're gonna get this clip. We're gonna grab a still. We're gonna add it to our gallery. Gonna head over here and see if we wanna apply that grade to this clip, and the answer is yes. This looks much nicer, but we are clipping now. So what we want to do in this case is to probably bring back some of our highlights. So we gotta correct this. Okay. Really quick, no big deal. Moving on to this clip. Yeah, so thanks for sticking around for this little color grading excursion here. I think ND8 is just not a good idea if you're intending to fly against the sun at all. If you have a truly cloudy day and and there's no chance of the sun coming out, ND8 might be a good option. But if the sun is out and you're not exclusively flying away from the sun, with ND8, your clip is gonna get ruined. So I think we've learned that. What's important now is, do we like ND32 better or do we like ND16 better? That's like the point of this whole video, for us to get a little bit more efficient with choosing our ND filters in certain lighting situations. So yeah, I've grabbed some music. I'm gonna put these clips back to back, side by side, so you can make up your own mind, whatever the look is you prefer. Let me know in the comments down below, do you like ND16 better, do you like ND32 better? Is there something you like about ND8 that I'm not even seeing? Let me know in the comments, would be highly appreciated. Consider subscribing if you're into this kind of stuff. And I will see you in the next one. Vielen Dank fürs Zuschauen und bis zum nächsten Mal.